Last year, we reviewed the Samsung Galaxy S6 and it was so good that it convinced Anthony to upgrade from his S5. So let's try that again this year. We're reviewing the S7 in a fishbowl. So good luck, Anthony, from staying away from a S7 because he just got the S6. Let's start off with a little history lesson about the Galaxy S series. The original Galaxy S through to the Galaxy S5 all shared two common traits: a removable battery and a micro SD card slot. These were big deals since upgrading built-in storage gets very expensive very fast if you want to go from a 32 gig base model to a 64 gig base model, and so on and so forth, and batteries all eventually start to fail, so a removable battery just made a lot of sense. Plus, you could swap in a fresh one instead of using or relying on power banks, or battery banks as some people might call it. Now, the S5 was one of the most feature-packed Android smartphones for its generation. Octa-core processor, IP67 rating, AMOLED display, Corning Gorilla Glass, removable battery, and a micro SD card slot. But the biggest complaint everyone had for it was build quality. The plastic frame and faux leather backing just felt cheap. And a few months after launch, the iPhone 6 came out. Bending issues aside, the smooth aluminum backing felt amazing in your hands. So Samsung countered this by creating the S6, a premium feeling phone with aluminum unibody frame and Gorilla Glass backing. But in order to do this, they took away two major selling points: the removable battery and the micro SD card slot. In many ways, the S6 was more of a side grade to the S5, trading away additional features like IP67 water resistance as well. But now the S7 is here, and in a fishbowl, and Samsung actually listened to all the negative feedback out there. Seriously, they brought back dust and water resistance, as you can see as this video plays in the fishbowl, this time at IP68. They brought back the micro SD card slot. They couldn't bring back a replaceable battery, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Let's start off with an external tour. At a glance, it looks almost identical to the S6. You get the same 5.1-inch 1440 by 2560 Super AMOLED display as found on the S6 and S6 Edge. However, the S6-7 Edge now comes in a 5.5-inch display. It doesn't feel all that much bigger since the curved front display disguises it a bit. The front of the regular S7 is also slightly more curved on the edges now, so it will be more difficult getting a good glass screen protector if you're into that sort of thing, but you don't really need one since it's still Gorilla Glass 4. One thing we did like is the new camera hump, which is a lot smaller than before. I mean, it still sticks out, but it's nowhere near as obtrusive as the S6. Now, fishbowl demonstration aside, the S7's overall footprint is basically identical to the S6. The only differences are the thickness and weight. It's almost 1.1 millimeters thicker and 14 grams heavier. Sounds like a small amount, but something you definitely notice in your hands. The back is now curved like the Note 5 as well, which makes it very comfortable to hold even after long periods of time. All the side buttons, camera ports, and even light sensors are in the exact same place. Now let that sink in for a moment. No pun intended. It's got IP68 resistance with everything the same. No stupid flaps or covers or gaskets or charging adapters that you need to worry about. Open headphone jack, open micro USB port, and water resistant up to 30 minutes at a depth of 1.5 meters. Great news if you're the type to drop your phone in the toilet. Not so much good news if you bring the phone into a pool or ocean. Although, I personally would rather drop my phone in the pool than the toilet. But that's a whole different discussion. And this is about where the similarities end. Our sample model here in Canada is now powered by the Exynos 8890, although some regions may get the Snapdragon 820 variant. It's definitely fast, with a score ranging from 114,000 to 135,000 in the N22 benchmark. To power everything, the S7 now has a 3,000 mAh battery, while the S7 Edge has a 3,600 mAh battery. It's still unremovable though, unfortunately, but we've mentioned that before. The S7 is still compatible with both Qi and PMA wireless chargers, but it's also compatible with Qualcomm's Quick Charge. Anthony used the phone over a course of a week and noticed pretty good results. After writing emails, browsing Imgur or Imgur, however you say that, making some phone calls, taking photos, and playing the odd game or two, we generally ended the day around 30% more battery life than the S6. It makes sense, since the battery is 15% larger and the new chipset is more efficient. Now for those of you wondering, the always-on display did not significantly drain the battery. Playing a game or watching YouTube videos would use up more power than the clock could in an entire day. It was difficult to measure, but the always-on display only uses about 0.5% to 1% of your battery per hour. It's even smart enough to completely turn off the screen when it detects the phone is in a pocket, bag, or purse. It's definitely worth it to have the ability to just glance over at your phone, see the timing notifications, and just put it away. And according to Samsung, it should save you battery as well as prolonging the lifespan of both the power button and the home button, since you don't need to press anything to turn on the screen. Then look at it and then turn off again. Another change is the camera. The aperture has now been increased from f1.9 to 1.7, letting in more light. Now even though you're down to 12 megapixels on the rear camera, the sensor size is the same, so you effectively get a larger pixel pitch. All that simply means brighter, more detailed photos in low light conditions. The S6 already had a very fast autofocus, but the S7 is even faster and hunts less. They call it dual pixel autofocus, which is similar to what Canon does in their 70D at DSLR. It's a weird mix of phase detect and contrast detection across the entire sensor. All we know is it works ridiculously well, like fast, hunt-free autofocus in a almost pitch black room well. You'll never struggle again with food photos for your Instagram. The slow motion video has been updated to 240 frames per second at 720p now, on par with the iPhone 6. One weird thing we noticed was the way video stabilization worked. Samsung offers both optical and software stabilization, but it looks odd when they're both on. So even though your preview may look a bit jittery, we promise that the optical stabilizer is working and that the final video is smooth. It tricked us too at first. Speaking of video, Samsung has added in video capturing while playing games using their game launcher. So if you ever wanted to show yourself playing an Android game and capturing your reaction, you can do that too now. The game launcher also allows for things like completely turning off alerts while gaming or even locking the recent and back keys. Finally, the last big difference is Android 6.0. It's not a huge update from Lollipop, but there are a lot of little quality of life improvements like Now on Tap. We don't have time to go in all the details, but you can probably find a good comparison on Google. That about wraps it up with our review of the Galaxy S7. In practice, it's a great phone. You get a top-of-the-line features in a very premium package. The only two complaints we have are the fact that the speaker is a bit quieter and sounds a bit worse, but that's probably due to waterproofing. Second, the micro SD card slot isn't adoptable. That means you can't integrate the SD card into the phone and use it like internal storage. Right now, it can only hold certain apps and your files like videos and music. But the card slot is hot swappable, so there's that bonus. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought of the Galaxy S7. Would you upgrade to it? You can check out previous videos over here, and our Twitter handles are right over here. But as always, like the video if you liked it, comment down below for fans with benefits, and subscribe for more like this from NCIX. We'll see you later.